411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that affect us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
You know, when I was a kid and the weather was nice, especially in the summertime, my friends and I were always outside. You know, it was a thing of getting us inside the house because we were out playing and we were having fun. And I see that a lot of kids today don't have that experience. And there could be different reasons for that, you know, maybe some safety concerns. But today, there's so many options for kids to get that good physical activity. So today, my guest highlights some of those activities in her book series called Exploring All I Can Do. Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. My guest, Nia Obotette, you may remember her because I was looking back. It's like almost a year and a half ago that you were on our show. And you were talking about the first book, yes. I Am a Triathlete. Yes. And I should mention that it became an award-winning children's book. Absolutely. Now, it's like you said, okay, I did it once. I'm going to not just one more. I'm going to do three more. And we've got this series.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You know what? I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, you know, I'm going to be talking to Nia tomorrow. And I got excited because I don't know if you know this or not, but you have an aura. You bring positivity. You know, you have the infectious smile and laugh. And I was like, well, she's just going to brighten up the room, you know? And then to talk about all the things that you've been doing since a year and a half ago is great. You know, with this new series, you kind of continue the triathlete vein of it, but with different sports. Yes. How did you choose these sports? Let's talk about what the sports are and how you chose them.
I know. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to speak with you as well. It's always nice to be here at the 411. And yes, and so actually when I wrote my first book, I had the second one already in mind. Okay. Only because I ski. And so originally, you know, I've skied for 20 plus years, a lot longer than I've been a triathlete. I've been a triathlete now for about, this year will be my 10th year being a triathlete. And so the ski and snowboarding book was already kind of boiling in my brain about, come on now, girlfriend, you've been skiing and snowboarding for a while. You got to do a ski and snowboarding book. And so, and I wanted to do one that had a grandmother. Actually, the triathlete one actually had a grandmother in it. And I reduced it down because when I went to my illustrator, he was going to charge me more to have more characters in the book. And so it became this book about a young girl's journey. Okay. And so it was kind of singular in that sense. And and some of it's really inspired by my own story and struggles of swimming and other things. And I kind of put that into the book, but really wanted people to write their own story. And so how can I tell people to write their own story when, you know, I have all these other stories brewing inside of me? Yeah. And so the ski and snowboarding was next. And then I've always liked fencing. I've always thought it was elegant and beautiful.
It is, but you know, you don't see it. It's not highlighted a lot, or in my sphere, I guess. So I was surprised to see that one.
I know. Well, my thing is, why not? Yeah. You know? So my new series, you know, I wanted to do something that I felt was impactful. So I wanted to show us in different ways. And so I wanted to highlight sports that, you know, that I've enjoyed, but I haven't seen a lot of representation in. So the next three, that's what they're really about. It's hockey now, skiing, snowboarding, and fencing. And then I have others in them, which I'm really excited
Flowing
about.
in the brain.
Yes, absolutely.
Have you already written them?
Yes. I've actually written 2 more. And they should be, well, we'll see. This whole process has been a learning experience for me. So my first book probably took 6 months. It was actually pretty fast. I worked with a really great illustrator, Adriel Mecca. Shout out, Adriel. He's an amazing illustrator. And then my next two books, the skiing and snowboarding and the hockey, both of those illustrators, they were their first time doing children's books.
Okay, so they're different illustrators.
Yeah,
Okay.
different illustrators. So it was important to me because when I researched doing children's books, it was that statistic that I found, right, that really propelled me into being an author. It's the one that reflected the lack of representation in children's books and characters of color. But in addition, those statistics showed the lack of representation of characters of color, but written by people of color. So we're not even telling our story when we're reflected as a person of color in the character. And in addition to that, the lack of representation of people of color who illustrate.
Yeah.
So, my hockey book is a person of color, a woman of color, and she's an illustrator. All of my illustrators are people of color.
That's wonderful.
So, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Because one thing that really stood out to me with the first book was the illustration. Yeah. I mean, that guy was good.
I know. Adriel was, and he had done a children's book already. And so he was really helpful in my journey and assisting me with like, all right, here's something, from that illustrator point of view. So I was able to take some of the things that I learned from that experience and roll it into, I don't think I would have been able to do it the same way with the next two books, the skiing, snowboarding, and the hockey, if I had not experienced such a great illustrator with my first book.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with the first book, there is a rhythm and a flow in that. Did you continue that?
Yeah. So all these stories come to me in rhyme. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Because in the industry, they tell you not to use rhyme. There is a certain cadence that, the professionals, you have to use a certain stanza and a certain cadence. But, I'm one of those, I don't like to be in a square box. And so, I just kind of, use what naturally comes from my artistic standpoint. And so, it's like when I read the story back, it just comes to me in a rhyme. So so all of them are rhyming books. I also, the challenge with that is that it's harder to translate those, right? So, you see other books who are able to translate into Spanish and other languages. It's kind of challenging to do that if you write your book in rhyme. So it kind of, it's some things with that as well. But that's how the stories come to me. So that's how they're being written.
Because I when I was reading the first book, I was like, how in the world was she able to make all this stuff rhyme with? I mean, it's a story.
It is a story.
It truly is a story, and so with that rhythm and the flow of that rhyme, it captivates me, and I think it would really captivate the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you read it out, it's something about having that rhyme and that steady rhythm of the story that I find exciting. So,
When you were on before, we talked about, the lack of authors of color.
Yes.
The lack of representation within the sports.
Yes.
For children. And there was also a goal of encouraging more people to write.
Yes.
Have you, met people who said, you know what, after reading your book, I thought I have a story in me and I wrote it.
Absolutely. And I'm always motivating people because I think everyone has a story that they could share about their lives that is worthy to be printed. And I think there's lessons to be learned from everyone's life in that capacity.
Right.
And so when I meet people, I'm like, what's your story? Have you ever thought about writing? Whether it's your own, autobiography or it's a fiction or even if it's a children's book. So I definitely have met people, and I've been trying to definitely reach back and mentor people, but it is an involved process.
Yeah.
Especially with children's books. But I tell people now more than ever, it's so easy to be able to be self-published because literally you don't have to wait for a big publisher to get your book or your story out there.
Yeah. Some of those obstacles are not there like they used to be.
You're correct. So you don't, once again, you don't have to like pitch your book to some company to get them to appreciate it for you to be able to sell it or share it. So that thought is that you can write your story, get it edited, get your illustrators, and get it out to the market as soon as you are able to,
If somebody's thinking about this and thinking a children's book, where do they find those illustrators?
Oh, so I have scoured the internet. I know I've at least reached out or slid into people's DM or whatever they call it these days. I've used Instagram. I've used Facebook. Usually it's about seeing the work of someone that I like, seeing their work. And I think Instagram is a good way to do that, especially if they're a working artist. You can see their work. So the snowboarding and skiing, he's actually a muralist. He's done murals in New Jersey, and I just was captivated by his murals and said, hey, with your work that you're doing, have you ever thought about doing a children's book? And I just approached him, and he said, yeah. So here we are, with his first children's book that he illustrated, Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So just look and search. They're out there.
They are out there. And I think, I think for people of color, a lot of times their work is underappreciated. And so, here is a way that you can share in their journey to share their work, as well. So that part I'm really excited about because each of the books now have different illustrators.
Yeah. Like I like to say, blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when you, I keep going back to the first book. It was to get it off the ground. You turned to Kickstarter.
Yeah, I did.
And you had a lot of success with that.
I did. Yeah. Kickstarter is really a crowdfunder, right? And for me, it has been a way to do a proof of concept, to reach out to people to say, hey, this is my goal. If you're interested in supporting this endeavor, show it with supporting, pledging to the Kickstarter, and to see that I reached the goal for the first book. The original goal was 5,000, and we were able to reach 16,000.
Wow.
And then with this new series, the goal was 10,000, I'm just making it a little bigger. And we were able to reach 14,000. So a combination of almost $30,000 between the two crowdfunders to raise money to, bring these books to life is really exciting. It's a way to say that there is a market out there and people are interested in that content.
I remember the first book, you kind of went to like groups who supported biking, triathletes. Did you reach out to fencing groups or hockey groups?
I did. So that's the challenge, right? So doing the triathlon story, I'm a triathlete, so I'm in those groups already. And so it was easy to get them to support because there wasn't anything else like that. It wasn't anything else out there. But it was a challenge this time. I don't think that I reached all the groups that I can with both fencing and hockey and skiing and snowboarding. With skiing and snowboarding, yes, absolutely, because I'm part of a longtime ski club, and
you have the connection.
I went to the National Brotherhood of Skiers Summit. They were celebrating their 50 years in February, and I was there pre-selling my books, and sold out of my triathlete books. So here I am at a ski and snowboarding summit, and I took over I think I took over 100 books with me. That was my first time flying to a location and taking books. It's a whole endeavor, let me tell you.
I can imagine.
To be able to pack up your whole setup with the table and everything and your vertical stand. Yeah, that was a little challenge. And taking books, heavy books.
Yeah.
When you get on the airplane, you know already.
You got your limit, yeah.
You got your limit. So, just learning from that experience in itself. But the fact that I could go to the 50-year National Brotherhood of Skiers event and be able to sell my triathlete books and sell out is just amazing. I wish I would have been able to take more books, and I'll have to learn next time.
Yeah. I mean, first time,
I know.
You learn from every experience. Look, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more with Nia Obotette, an award-winning author, and we'll talk more about her endeavors and the future. Stay with us. This is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. I'm Beverly Taylor here with Nia Obotette, and she is an award-winning author. We're talking about her new book series, Exploring All I Can Do. A children's book series. But, I think adults can get a whole lot out of this series too, right?
Yeah. So each of the books, although it's fencing, triathlons, hockey, and skiing and snowboarding, they're all geared to individuals, as you read them, to be inspired. So they're all written to inspire people to go beyond their comfort zones, to try new things. And those themes are resonated within children's books or any books that you read. So I really, although it is a children's book, I really want to inspire all that read the book, about the stories. And, seeing a grandmother, that was important to me in the ski and snowboarding, is to see someone who is older in age having fun. And, I in my journey, I was able to meet, when I went to France recently with a large ski group, one of the skiers, she was close to 80 years old and still skiing. She was in her late 70s, and still skiing. So, I want to be that person. And I think we need to show our children that there are opportunities, that just because you reach a certain age doesn't mean that you have to not do.
That is so true. And I think it's a way of changing kind of the standard. I remember when I was much, much younger, and my grandmother, I think when she was 60, she looked old. And I'm looking at, back, I'm older too. So, back in the day, it seems like people would get to the 60, 65, and it's like, okay, my life is ending. That kind of attitude, because you just didn't see a lot of activity from them. You heard things like, well, I got to take it easy, and so now it's changed a little bit. And I think your book kind of inspires people to continue with that change. I mean, you don't have a broken leg or whatever. You can still walk. Come on now.
Walk. You can still bike. You can still swim. And there are people out there that are doing that. And that keeping active and being fit, increases the longevity of your life,
Right,
you know?
right.
And so I think there were many hardships of our own grandparents and parents. And so we live in a technology age, you know, if we're sedentary or we're sitting, it's because we're choosing it,
Right.
you know? And so the thought is if you keep moving and keep your body moving and keep your body active, that you'll live longer. And so, you know, get and like you said, when you were growing up, same with me. We went out exploring. I was just saying on Juneteenth, part of my speech was that my brother and I used to go to a creek that was close to our house. It was Lincoln Creek. And he and I and his friends, we would just walk the embankment and just kind of discover, thinking we were in a whole new world, like just excited about the
Yes.
potential of what we would see. And so, you know, here we have stories that Exploring All I Can Do is about giving people the opportunity to explore more than what the box of people have told them, or what their maybe even their own family has not participated
Right.
in. So yeah, I took my dad to his first hockey game. He's 70.
Nice.
And he really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it. Actually, we all did. I took my nieces and nephews as well. And, you know, here are opportunities for us to explore different things, you know, that may or may not have been part of us growing up. But there's an opportunity now for you to do it. Why not?
Right. I think, and I let me just say this. I don't want to offend anybody by saying what I did about, life and kind of holding back, because I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to myself. It's about living your best self.
Yes, living your best self.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I have to do more of that.
Yes. We all do.
Yeah. And there is so much more, but what you just said is significant to me, because it's about experiencing new things,
Yes.
experiencing things that,
Yes.
you know, you ordinarily would not, and some things you might not like.
Yeah.
But
Right.
now you know.
Now you know.
And then there's some things you never would have thought about,
Never
and
would
you,
have
and you
thought
go,
about.
you know, this is kind of fun.
This is kind of fun.
So take advantage of those things. That's one of the reasons I like Milwaukee Rec.
Yes.
You know, you get these catalogs every season, and they have all these different activities in
They
there, and
definitely
things that
do.
you never would have thought about. But for just a couple of some of the things are free.
Yes.
And just for a few bucks, you can take advantage and just explore.
Yeah, just explore or find a video, you know.
That's true.
You know,
YouTube
there's
has
so
everything.
Many, YouTube has everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much rich history about, you know, people who have done some of these sports that hasn't even, is not readily available, or, you know, you really have to dig for it. So it's just exciting to be able to offer something different to our youth,
Yeah.
and to people of color, and to readers, you know, something that is different.
Yeah. Here's one of those philosophical questions. What's your purpose?
What's my purpose? That's interesting. My name is Nia. Nia means purpose.
Oh, really? See,
Absolutely. It's
That's
the
wonderful.
5th day of Kwanzaa. I was born on December 30th, which means Nia, and Nia means purpose. And so for me, you know, my thing is always leaving the world a better place than it was given to me. And so this is my opportunity and way of doing that, in a sense that I always wanted to, even in my triathlete journey, I always wanted to encourage people outside of my circle to try that sport. And so here I am with these series of books in which I'm able to reach more people and encourage them to do things that they may not have done without this, you know, without these books, or without seeing these illustrations.
That's great. That's great. You said you have some books coming up.
Yes.
They're already written.
Yes.
What sports? Are we still going in that vein? Exploring all I can with sports?
Yes.
What sports are you tackling
Oh my
now?
goodness. There hasn't been a reveal yet. But oftentimes when I'm writing, I'm also thinking about what messages as well that I want to kind of convey. And so my next book will be about a grandson and a grandfather's relationship. And then I want the one after that is a sport that's going to include a family.
Okay.
And so that'll be bowling, actually. So
Oh,
I'm really
nice.
excited about that because I want to also include about Black family doing activities. And so if you notice in my books, you'll see that I intentionally try to add characters that have some interconnection, brother and sisters, individuals trying to reach their own goals. The hockey is about two sisters, really, inspiring the younger sister. The skiing and snowboarding is about a grandmother inspiring her grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And so, there's that, when I think I'm intentional, about what I'm putting out there into the world,
Right.
using illustrators of color, using these characters of color. And so it's important for me to kind of convey these stories in that sense.
It's about relationships.
Relationships, absolutely. And a lot of that is missing in our literature as well. And so, I want to be able to kind of tell those stories in that capacity because those relationships are happening and they're not bubbling up to the surface as much as we see with all the negativity and the things in our world today. So, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that strikes me about you too is you practice what you preach, of course, and these books come out of your experience, and I think that is something that people should really think about because if you've experienced it, it's easier to tell a story about it.
Yes.
From that standpoint,
Yes.
versus just reading about it somewhere and then saying, well, I'm going to write a book about this,
Right.
but you've never experienced it.
Yep.
So we all have experiences.
Yes.
We all have those stories.
Yes,
like you
we
said,
do.
we have stories. So it's time to tell those stories.
Yes, absolutely. And the sports is a way to tell those stories because everyone has a life, you're not just this one avenue of fencing or, the things that, the title that you have. You have an array of things that have impacted your life, good and bad, that could be shared, that can inspire somebody else to try things that they've never tried.
Yeah. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older brother. Shout out to my older brother and a younger sister. So I am straight in the middle.
Oh, are you that middle kid?
I am that middle kid, chasing after my brother. I was trying to be faster or climb a higher tree with him and keep up with him. And then my little sister, my younger sister, she and I are really, really close. So
That's cool.
Yes, absolutely.
What do they think of what you've accomplished?
The whole family has been extremely supportive. In fact, all of the stories, I have 9 nieces and nephews, and each of the stories are reflecting all of them.
Is that right?
So every book is going to have their
footprint on
their
it.
footprint on it.
Do they recognize themselves? Is that some of the discussion?
Actually, it's for the triathlon book. If you saw a picture of my niece, you'd be like, that's her completely. Absolutely. And then even this one is Jeremiah, my sister's oldest son. And
on the fencing book.
On the fencing book, yep. And then this is Raki. So all of the nieces and nephews, and then Adila and Natalia, the 2 sisters, are my brother's daughters, and then I just love Kayla and Nehemiah. Those are my sister's kids as well. So all of them are being reflected in all of the stories that I write because I want them to be inspired as well. That part of this journey was me looking at them and wanting to impart, for them to know that they can do whatever, and encouraging them. And so each of these books I'm using.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
Well, we're almost out of time, but you're such a, I think that's your gift, your calling, your gift. Encouraging. Encouragement. So what would you leave people with? What would you like to leave people with?
I think the message that I kind of conveyed last time is everyone has a story. Tell it. It's important that you share that, and it kind of bubbles up, right? And you feel it. So tell your story. It's important for people to hear it. Maybe it's not in just all the written plan. Maybe it's a blog or like you do the 411. Part of telling your story and sharing that is that someone is out there waiting to hear it.
That's
and
right.
be inspired by it. So
Yeah.
tell your story.
It can make a difference in somebody's life.
It can.
Yeah.
Yes. Continue to.
Nia Obotette, it's always a pleasure. You'll come back when the other books come. You have a standing invitation. So thank you for all you do. And can people get these books on Amazon, or where do they go?
They can go to my website now, niatheauthor.com, and then you should be able to find them on Amazon and all of the other media places. But join my journey on Instagram, Nia the Author, or Facebook, Nia the Author. I'm always sharing how I've had this whole journey. It's been really exciting for me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the 411 Live. We are a nonprofit organization, so if you're so inclined to support us, go to the website, the411live.org. We're covering community issues and introducing you to interesting people. I'm Beverly Taylor, and again, this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.